Okay, so over the last few months, I've been trying to balance 3 cognitively demanding things at the same time. My day job in data science, consistently uploading to YouTube, and staying active. My problem wasn't that I needed more hours. I needed a brain that could actually function inside the hours I had. So if you're trying to balance a creative or independent project on the side, but feel like your brain gets tired way too fast, or your focus seems to crash the second you need it, then yeah, this video is for you. I spent 3 months trying to fix those exact problems by testing different ways to optimize my cognitive function, and as a result, I saw improved memory, creativity, and focus. So I want to share 5 evidence-based strategies, what I now call the core framework that helped me the most. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kriti. I'm a data scientist by trade, but I'm obsessed with personal development by choice. I live in Toronto, but as you can probably tell, I'm very originally from India. This channel is where we break down the mindset shifts, systems, habits, and strategies that help you build inner clarity and take meaningful action towards your goals. This core framework isn't about flashy hacks, it's about what actually works. If you give your brain the right conditions, it will adapt. The work will get easier, lighter, and you'll feel like yourself again. Okay, all said and done, let's begin. The first step of this framework is to coordinate your schedule. And the objective here is to reduce decision fatigue. The first thing I had to fix was the constant feeling of being mentally drained before I even started working. It wasn't about the actual tasks on my to-do list. It was about the number of decisions involved in doing the tasks. You know, decisions like, should I ideate or script my videos today? Or should I go to the gym instead? When should I record? What days and times should I edit? What should I eat for lunch, dinner, and breakfast? Leaving every tiny decision for the moment would eat away the same cognitive resources I needed for deeper thinking. And this is textbook decision fatigue. The ego depletion theory states that willpower or self-control and decision-making all draw from the same limited pool of mental resources. And when the pool runs low, your ability to focus or make good decisions drops fast. So if you keep making unnecessary decisions throughout the day, forget about having the willpower to actually do the task. The goal is to reduce how much of that pool gets drained by decisions, so you still have enough left to take action. This explains why we often feel exhausted towards the end of the day, and why all the side projects we want to work on feel impossible. So instead of trying harder, make the decision to start making fewer decisions. Now, I built a simple system to keep everything predictable and reduce mental friction. By the way, I talk about the same principle in my fitness video. Check it out after this one. I'll leave the link in the description. So yeah, my plan was like this. First, I decided my office days in advance. We have a mandate to be in the office 3 days a week. So instead of playing it by ear, I logged those days in. And because commuting drains a lot of cognitive energy, I stopped trying to do cognitively heavy tasks like scripting or editing my videos on those days. Office days are like my low cognitive or light days. It's when I prioritize exercise, brainstorming ideas, recording videos, or doing small admin tasks for YouTube. The second thing I did was I shifted all cognitive heavy lifting like scripting and video editing to the weekends and the days I worked from home. Because those were the days where I had the most control over my environment and the most uninterrupted focus. Number 3, I automated my meals completely. I pre-selected what I'd eat throughout the week. I subscribe to Factor Meals. Now, this video is not sponsored in any way, it's just something I like and use, but I will leave the referral code in the description below in case you want to try it out for yourself. So yeah, my meals are all pre-selected, so I'm not actively trying to make food decisions every single day. And this alone saved a ton of mental energy. Because let's face it, a large part of adulthood is deciding what you want to eat 3 times a day. And to be honest, I find that really boring, let alone allowing it to take any mental space. So yeah, my meals for the week are decided and everything became so much more simpler. My focus sessions started to feel like I was running on a program because they were predictable and I wasn't fighting myself anymore. I wasn't wasting energy figuring out how or when to work. I just got to working because that was the plan. My mental bandwidth only went to the tasks that needed it most, like problem solving, writing, and creative thinking. This is essentially a brain power optimization tactic, tried and tested. So the next part of the framework is to offset overload. Essentially, what you're doing is building a reset ritual between tasks. So once the major decisions were set and the system was in place, I realized the real challenge wasn't scheduling anymore. It was doing the work itself. A lot of the cognitive overload happens when you're hit with too much at once. Too much stimulation, too many challenging tasks, too many creative decisions, basically more cognitive strain than your brain can process at the same time. When I say offset here, it simply means doing something that neutralizes the overload, so your brain can drop out of that stressed and overstimulated state. Data science is something I've done for 7 years now, so even when it's demanding, it's well within my competence. But long-form editing was completely new to me, and the learning curve was quite sharp. That first month felt like every creative task drained me way more than I expected. I was getting overwhelmed because of too much stimulation and all the creative decisions that had to be made in the process, like selecting B-roll, cuts, music, sound effects, text transition. It was a lot. And this made me realize that editing videos is visually, mentally, and even physically intense. And to add to that, data science requires logic, analysis, and deep attention. So switching between these tasks, even if they were, let's say, on alternate days, was sort of frying my brain. I just couldn't consume any content online, and I was really not in the mood for any motivational videos either. I didn't want upbeat music. I was looking for anything that would soothe and pacify my mind. So I started listening to calming classical music between tasks. Not during deep work, but between cognitive blocks. And it actually worked pretty well. In fact, studies have shown that classical music can increase alpha waves, which are linked to a relaxed, calm, and focused mental state. Specific pieces like Mozart's have been shown to have positive effect on brain activity. So classical music became a mental reset button for me, especially over the weekends. I'd wrap up a 2-hour editing session and feel completely overheated. My eyes burning, my neck and shoulders tense, and everything was just feeling stiff. As a side note, I realized I had to upgrade my chair, my mouse, and even my desk setup just to make the whole thing ergonomic enough to survive. So yeah, I'd put on classical music for 10 to 15 minutes during breaks just to get back to neutral. And pro tip, if you pair this with a nice bath or shower after, you are golden. So listening to classical music became a small recovery ritual between cognitively heavy tasks. And it kept me from mentally crashing halfway through the day, especially when I knew I had a lot more hours left in the day that I just needed to get through. The third thing was to prioritize rest and recovery. Here are some other things that I did that helped me recover between draining sessions. And if you're looking for underrated ways to fix your sleep, here's a link to my other video which you can watch after this one. Okay, so when your cognitive load gets really high, your body resists. It's hard to get yourself to do anything that even remotely requires thinking, control, or focus. Sleep and recovery is super important. And exercise was also part of my recovery system. But even lifting weights, which I've been doing for about 3 years now, felt like it required too much focus and attention. So I had to scale everything down. I replaced heavy, intense workouts with 50 to 60 minutes of walking instead. Because walking doesn't demand mental focus like maintaining your form during lifting weights does. Walking activates the default mode network, the part of the brain that's associated with creativity, idea formation, and recovery. In fact, there's a 2014 Stanford study showing that walking increases creative output by 60%. That kind of became obvious to me through practice. I thought differently about my ideas for videos during or after walks, and I just felt more refreshed. Now, power naps are the other piece. In 1995, NASA found that pilots who took a 26-minute nap had a 54% increase in alertness and a 34% boost in performance compared to those who didn't nap. So if you ever needed a case for power naps, that's it. And I must say, during these naps and sleep, my dreams got super vivid. I would remember them when I woke up, and they were quite strange. But this is actually a good sign. It means your brain is adapting and forming new neural pathways. Sleep research has shown that REM sleep, the phase where you get bizarre dreams, actually helps with memory consolidation and clearing cognitive clutter. It's considered to be like overnight therapy, in fact, because your brain is basically reorganizing itself. So walking and naps aren't luxuries. They should be part of your workflow. They give you a way to reset and restore energy from cognitively heavy tasks. The fourth step is to energize, fuel your brain. I didn't take any fancy supplements, but I did fix a few foundational things that made a big difference. Here are 4 things that I focused on. Vitamin D. Now, I live in Canada and I'm indoors 90% of the time. Okay, if I'm being honest, probably closer to 99% of the time. And data science and editing are basically 2 desk jobs, which means I'm not getting much sunlight. And low vitamin D is linked to cognitive impairment, fatigue, and poor mood regulation. And I felt that personally. When my vitamin D is low, I can't get myself to do anything, and I just know it. So get your levels checked. get blood work done, and monitor it. Once I started taking vitamin D consistently and brought my levels back to normal, I just felt normal again. My energy stabilized and I wasn't dragging myself through the day anymore. The next thing I prioritized were balanced meals. Now, your brain uses 20% of your body's total metabolic energy, and it needs glucose or carbs to function well. It's scientifically well established that eating a balanced diet supports sustained cognitive performance. Automating my meals through factor meals basically means I'm getting nutritionist planned food with protein, carbs, fats, and a good balance of all the nutrients I need. I know this is important because during my master's degree at university, I lived on instant ramen, coffee, and some bread and hope. That worked back then, but now I'm a lot more sensitive to missing nutrients, and if I don't eat properly, I feel like shit and I just can't perform. Plus, the tasks I do now are more varied and mentally demanding. And if we're being completely honest, yes, I do have more money now than I did back when I was a student to systemize eating well. But I view that as an investment that helps me create things that I'm passionate about. So I prioritize balanced meals at consistent times, and honestly, it makes a huge difference in my energy. The next point I want to talk about is hydration. The brain is extremely sensitive to even mild dehydration, and studies have shown that losing as little as 1 to 2% of your body's water can impair memory, focus, and mood. I felt this, especially if I was working in front of the screen for extended hours and didn't drink enough water. I felt really irritable and foggy. So I started replenishing with electrolytes during breaks, and honestly, it made a noticeable difference in how clear and steady my mind felt. The next thing I want to talk about is caffeine regulation. So morning coffee is a must for me, but when my brain was feeling foggy towards the later part of the day, I noticed that if I drank more coffee, it didn't get any better, and I would just end up with worse sleep in the night. The average half-life of caffeine is about 5 hours. What this means is that it takes approximately 5 hours for the amount of caffeine in your body to be reduced by half. So when you drink coffee at 3 p.m., it's going to stay in your system till about 8 p.m. Consuming caffeine too late in the day can interfere with deep sleep, which in turn destroys cognitive function the next day. So I stopped drinking caffeine afternoon. I realized there was no point in adding more if it wasn't doing anything, and I had to learn how to manage my energy in other ways, and slowly it worked. My sleep normalized and everything else improved without relying on extra coffee. So that covers the core framework, but there's one other thing I want to talk about: practicing patience and self-compassion, especially during the adaptation window. So this one isn't a practical step in the traditional sense, but it's completely necessary because it holds all the other steps together. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Month 1 was rough. My energy felt fragile and everything took extra effort. But I also knew from neuroscience that the brain doesn't adapt overnight. When you challenge yourself or learn something new, the stress rewires your prefrontal cortex, which means your brain needs time to recover. It's just like training a muscle. You put it under stress and it grows back stronger. And I'm talking about healthy adaptive stress here, not chronic overload. We all know that too much of anything is counterproductive. So I just kept going, and I'd seen a similar pattern when I first started lifting weights. So I told myself, just stick with it and see where it goes. And somewhere around week 8, it clicked. Tasks felt lighter. I wasn't mentally fighting everything, and my concentration came back. Editing didn't wipe me out. My flow felt natural again. Not because I pushed harder, but because my brain had finally adapted to the new routine, and I felt it. So that patience, being easier on myself, taking guilt-free breaks, ended up being the strategy that made all other strategies work. In fact, Dr. Kristen Neff, a pioneer in self-compassion research, has shown that when you treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend who's struggling, it reduces cortisol and improves emotional regulation, which leads to better outcomes overall. In other words, don't be too hard on yourself. You're learning, and adapting to a new routine takes time. So now that I'm 6 months into this whole journey, the way I work feels completely different. I get the same amount of work done, sometimes more, with way less fatigue than before. I can switch between tasks without feeling mentally tired, and I know my memory is sharper because I'm not even kidding. I suddenly remember super specific moments from childhood that I haven't thought about in years, and those memories actually help with creativity and storytelling. I'm far less overstimulated and my focus is sharper. I'm not carried away by random distractions anymore, and I make sure I give my time to the tasks that matter for my priorities, like my 9 to 5, YouTube, and fitness. And my focus feels deeper because my energy is being managed instead of drained. I still take rest days and I still get really tired sometimes, but the biggest difference is I don't feel like I'm pushing against my resistance from my own brain anymore. It feels like I'm working with it. And if I keep up these habits, I know in the next 3 months, I will probably feel even more efficient. So in conclusion, if you're in that stage where your brain feels overloaded, your focus disappears, or everything takes more effort than it should, you probably just need to rebuild your cognitive energy the same way I had to rebuild mine. Take whatever you need to from this video and try it for a couple of weeks and see how your brain responds. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like, subscribe for more, and check out my other playlists for similar frameworks on building habits and consistency. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And forming new neural paths. So I started